exploring our home away from home. The dogs are in the back. Let's go!
On our camping trip to Tennessee, we visited many different interesting places. We went to Mammoth Cave, the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, Cades Cove, Newfound Gap, Clingman's Dome, the Appalachian Trail, the Museum of Salt and Pepper Shakers, and various antique shops. One of my favorite places we went was to the Biltmore House, the largest private house in America. It was built during what history calls the Gilded Age, and it clearly lives up to that definition. Biltmore House is a trip back in time, not only to the Gilded Age, but also to a time of the birth of environmental science. The approach road winds for 3 miles through a deliberately controlled landscape. The road runs along the ravines instead of the ridges, creating a deep natural forest with pools, springs, and streams. Around the last turn, the visitor passes through the iron gates and pillars that are topped by early 19th century French stone sphinxes, and then into the expansive court of the house. Today, we can hardly believe this beautiful and pristine woodlands was built on desolate and played out farmland. All of the forest was actually planned and planted. George Washington Vanderbilt was born on November 18, 1862. The youngest of 8 children, George was a shy, quiet person. He exhibited little interest in business affairs. Influenced by the collection of art and antiques in his father's house, he began collecting books and art objects at an early age. George had no interest in the social world that had so captivated the Vanderbilt family, preferring instead the adventure of travel and the world of books. On a trip with his mother in 1888, he visited Asheville, North Carolina, a fashionable resort in the 1880s. Here he decided to create a home for himself, a refuge from the tumult of the city. He soon began purchasing 125,000 acres of land. The farmers were more than happy to sell their land that had been used up by the farming methods of the period. George Vanderbilt would bring together the genius and talents of Richard Morris Hunt and Frederick Law Olmsted to help him create the 250-room French Renaissance chateau. And it is a true marvel of architecture and artistry. Recognized as America's largest home, Biltmore House required 6 years of construction and around 1,000 workers, ranging from local laborers and craftsmen to internationally known artists. During building, there was a woodworking factory, a brick kiln that made 42,000 bricks a day, and a 3-mile railroad spur to bring materials to site. Biltmore is 178,926 square feet. This 4+ acres of floor space is occupied by 35 bedrooms, 43 bathrooms, 65 fireplaces, and 3 kitchens. Likely introduced by matchmaking family members, George met a like-minded young lady, Edith Stuyvesant Dresser. Soon a romance blossomed over a shared love of reading and travel. They wed in Paris in June 1898. After their 4-month honeymoon abroad, Mrs. Vanderbilt arrived at Biltmore in October as the new lady of the house. The Vanderbilts frequently opened their home to family and friends for extended periods of time. In fact, this was George Vanderbilt's original vision for Biltmore, a country retreat where his loved ones could relax. George and Edith Vanderbilt welcomed the arrival of their only child, a daughter, in August 1900. The birth of Cornelia Stuyvesant Vanderbilt, named in honor of prominent members of both her parents' families, was mentioned in the society pages of the newspapers across the country. Etiquette of the era dictated for every activity, which meant the Vanderbilts and their guests, the ladies in particular, needed to change their clothes as many as 7 times a day, a different outfit for breakfast, walking in the gardens, afternoon tea, dinner, and more. As a young girl growing up at Biltmore, Cornelia Vanderbilt enjoyed the entire estate as her own backyard. Her childhood swing was located near the statue of Diana atop the vista in front of Biltmore House. She enjoyed splashing around in the front lawn fountain and fishing in the lagoon. Biltmore's Gardens and Grounds offered the Vanderbilts guests a wide range of leisurely outdoor activities, including horseback riding, fishing, and playing croquet on the green in the Italian garden. The estate even had its own golf course during the Vanderbilts era. Biltmore functioned much like a luxury hotel, requiring an exceptional staff to ensure day-to-day operations ran smoothly, even to the coordination of carriage rides. Employees received room, board, and uniforms, as well as pay that was higher than the Asheville standard. Meals prepared in Biltmore's kitchens involved extensive planning and coordination, all of which took place out of sight from guests. Staff took great care tending to every detail, from the floral arrangements on the table to the menu of delicacies and estate-grown bounties. The Vanderbilts demonstrated an unwavering commitment to their community. The initiatives included Moonlight School to teach estate workers how to read and write, and Biltmore Estate Industries, in which local men and women learned practical skills like woodworking and weaving. Vanderbilt was somewhat of an environmental activist of his time. In 1898, he had started the Biltmore Forest School, which taught the importance of conservation. It was the first forestry school. This was the starting of the idea of long-term management of forests, which was new in the U.S. People had started to notice that the Industrial Revolution was having a negative impact on the environment, and answers to the question of what could be done were starting to be asked. Then, when the instatement of the income tax in 1913 impacted the estate immensely, George decided acreage must be sold. He started the sale to the U.S. government in 1914, but died of complications from appendix surgery at the age of 51 before it was completed. One of his dying wishes was that the sale be completed and for the property to be the start of the National Forest. Edith completed the sale, and the property became the nucleus of the Pisgah National Forest. After his passing, Edith Vanderbilt assumed responsibility for running the estate and raising their daughter Cornelia, who was just 13 at the time. Welcome to America's largest home. George Vanderbilt officially opened Biltmore on Christmas Eve, 1895. This is the Winter Garden. The Winter Garden is furnished exactly as it was during the Vanderbilts' time at Biltmore House. A glass roof illuminates the fountain sculpture Boy Stealing Geese by Carl Bitter. The Billiard Room. The billiard room is part of a suite of rooms which provided entertainment and a retreat for the men of the household and their gentlemen guests. House guests played dominoes and billiards and enjoyed refreshment in this richly paneled room. The custom oak billiard tables were made in 1895. The Banquet Hall. This impressive room with a 7-story high ceiling and Flemish tapestries from the mid-1500s was the scene of evening parties and celebrations. Guests of the Vanderbilts enjoyed elegant dinners that began promptly at 8. Often the highlight of a stay at Biltmore, these elaborate, ceremonious affairs featured up to 10 courses, as many as 5 different wine pairings, illustrating George Vanderbilt's interest in fine wines, and live musical entertainment. The 1916 Skinner pipe organ, 64 guests can be seated at the table. The acoustics of the hall are so perfect that 2 people sitting at opposite ends of the banquet hall do not have to raise their voices to be heard. The breakfast room. The breakfast room was used for more informal dining than the banquet hall. Here guests of the Vanderbilts were served both breakfast and luncheon. While it might be less formal, the room is still opulent, with Spanish leather coverings for the walls and a mantle of jasperware made by Josiah Wedgwood. Artist John Singer Sargent, the most acclaimed society portraitist of his era, painted the 2 large family portraits of the Vanderbilt family. George collected a variety of works in his lifetime, including 2 paintings, Young Algerian Girl and Child with an Orange, by French Impressionist Pierre-Auguste Renoir. The Salon. Intended to be a formal sitting area in the French style, this room was never completed in George Vanderbilt's lifetime. Today it features original furnishings, including 2 landscape paintings by Impressionist Claude Monet. It also has a chess table and a set of ivory chessmen. The table, as well as the chess set, was owned and used by Napoleon Bonaparte while a prisoner at St. Helena. The music room. This room was completed in 1976 like the salon. It is unknown why it was unfinished in George Vanderbilt's time. It was still brick walls during World War II, when priceless paintings from the National Gallery of Art were secretly stored here for safekeeping. The library. This room is a testament to George Vanderbilt's passion for books. It contains nearly half of his 22,000 volume collection, which ranges in subject from American and English fiction to world history, religion, philosophy, art, and architecture in 8 languages. The magnificent ceiling painting, The Chariot of Aurora, was brought to America by Mr. Vanderbilt from the Pisani Palace in Venice. The Tapestry Gallery. In this 90-foot-long room, the Flemish tapestries on the wall are part of a 1530s set known as the Triumph of the Seven Virtues. The 3 tapestries represent charity, faith, and prudence. There are 107 steps spiraling around a 4-story wrought iron chandelier with 72 light bulbs. Second floor living hall. The second floor living hall serves as an upstairs sitting room. It features a painting of the Vanderbilt family members and the 2 men that were instrumental in the creation of Biltmore Estate. The creation of Biltmore was a collaborative effort between George Vanderbilt and architect Richard Morris Hunt and landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted. Artist John Singer Sargent visited Biltmore in 1895 to paint Hunt, considered the Dean of American Architecture, and Olmsted, who designed Central Park and the U.S. Capitol grounds and many other parks. On this floor there are 7 guest suites and 2 master bedrooms, as well as 5 bedrooms in the bachelor's wing. The 3rd floor has a similar arrangement. There is a total of 32 guest bedrooms in Biltmore House, not including servants' quarters. Mr. Vanderbilt's bedroom. George Vanderbilt's bedroom features a gilded wall covering and 17th century Portuguese Baroque furniture. When you look in his closet, you see the early 1900s version of a fashionable wardrobe. The mirror in the adjoining bathroom reflects his paw-footed tub. From the windows of his bedroom, you could see his magnificent estate and Mount Pisgah in all that lay between. The Oak Sitting Room. The Oak Sitting Room is located between the family's bedrooms. This room functioned as a private sitting area for the Vanderbilts where they relaxed, planned their day, and hosted close friends. This room reflects 17th century Jacobean splendor with its paneled walls and plaster ceiling of intricate strapwork patterns. It also serves a gallery where George Vanderbilt showcased his prized collections, including etchings by Rembrandt. William Henry and Maria Louisa Vanderbilt, seen in portraits over each mantel, greatly influenced their son George's love of art and collecting tastes. Mrs. Vanderbilt's bedroom. Mr. Vanderbilt was a bachelor when he planned Biltmore House, yet the north bedroom was constructed in anticipation of his future marriage. This feminine retreat became Edith Vanderbilt's room upon her marriage at age 25. Purple and gold silk fabrics and furnishings in the Louis XV style decorate this oval room with its richly painted ceiling. Doors in the bedroom lead to the ladies' maid's room, the bathroom, and the closets. 3rd floor hallway. This hallway features a Gothic arch ceiling and built-in oak bookcases. 3rd floor living hall. Guests in nearby rooms come here to read, listen to music, and unwind. Notable furnishings include Herder Brothers display cabinets and bookcases inherited by George Vanderbilt from his father's home in New York City. The Watson Room. This room was named for the engraver James Watson and is part of a group of rooms named for artists whose works are displayed. It is also the only bedroom with twin beds. The Van Dyke Room. Each of the 33 guest rooms in Biltmore House is decorated in a different style, as was fashionable in the late 1800s. Decorated in the Colonial Revival style, this room features prints after paintings by the 17th century artist Anthony Van Dyke. The Moreland Room. Named for the English painter George Moreland, this bedroom features bed draperies, which are exact reproductions of hand-painted originals that George and Edith Vanderbilt brought back from the Italian villa where they honeymooned in 1898. Bathroom. This is one of the house's 43 bathrooms, a rarity in 1895 when many homes in the United States did not have a single indoor bathroom. The Madonna Room. This room features prints after famous Renaissance paintings of the Madonna and Child. The Stone Hallway. Here you can see one of the foundation walls. It took almost 2 years to build the foundations and footings that extend down 29 feet. The Halloween Room. In April 1924, Cornelia Vanderbilt married the Honorable John Francis Amherst Cecil. In 1925, the couple spent weeks painting these wall scenes for a New Year's Eve party. Presently, the room is an interpretive space focused on the history, collections, and preservation of Biltmore Estate. The Bowling Alley. House guests enjoyed one of the nation's first bowling alleys in private residence. The dressing rooms. In these rooms, female guests would change into appropriate bathing costumes. Swimming pool. The 70,000-gallon indoor pool was heated and still has its original underwater lighting. A few years ago, they filled the pool and had a party. All went well and everyone went to sleep. The next morning, when everyone got up, the pool was empty. 70,000 gallons of water had leaked into the sub-basement. It appears the pool now has a leak. Since then, the pool has never been filled. Gymnasium. Keeping fit and healthy were popular pastimes at the beginning of the 20th century. Needle baths along the back wall were the equivalent of modern shower massages. The vegetable pantry. This room used to store fresh fruit and vegetables. The rotisserie kitchen. Roasted meats such as venison and turkey were prepared here to keep the smoke and grease out of the other kitchens. The main kitchen. Most of the prep work and cooking occurred here under direction of the chef, who was one of the most important staff positions in the house. He led a team of more than a dozen kitchen workers who were responsible for preparing meals ranging from staff breakfast to gala dinners. The kitchen pantry. These electric and manual dumbwaiters raised trays of food to the first floor butler's pantry and to the second floor above. The servants' dining room. Up to 30 domestic staff members worked at Biltmore House under the supervision of the head housekeeper, who ran the daily operations, and the head butler, who oversaw the male staff, including footmen and houseboys. The main laundry and drying room. The main laundry was as busy and well equipped as one in a large hotel, with laundresses working into the evening to wash and dry bed, bath, and table linens. Clothing was washed infrequently, but the loads were filled with all the other laundry of the household. Easing their work was a system of electric drying racks located in the adjoining drying room. Walk-in refrigerators. Instead of ice boxes and spring house to cool food, Biltmore had an early type of mechanical refrigeration. The smoking room. Male guests enjoyed after-dinner cigars, pipes, and brandy in this room. The gun room. Hunting parties were a popular pastime on country estates. Guests selected guns from George Vanderbilt's collection to use on excursions. We also visited the conservatory. Biltmore House has an extensive conservatory with hot houses and cool houses. There was even citrus in the hothouse. I hope you enjoyed our trip to Biltmore House. Please like and share and hit the bell. And be sure to come back and hit the road with Lisa.